Hello, and thank you again for joining me at the cutting mat. My last video I unboxed these Undead armoured halberdiers, and now I've got them painted. I'm pleased with how they've turned out. I think they look pretty good. The last video, I think it got around 51 views and 3 subscribers to the channel, so that's more than I was really expecting. So that's cool to see. But yeah, I've had a bit of a delay. I've got, full-time job, kids, wife. It's difficult to find time to do hobbying stuff, but I have got around to finally painting these guys up. So that the 2 necromancers, these were already done, but these I painted to try and there's only a set number of models, different types of model per pack. So I tried to introduce variation. I've done different coloured shields, different coloured helmets, sort of varying red, brown and black to try and make them look as different from each other as I could. I freehanded the shields and the banner too, which I'll come to in a second. And it's come off pretty good. Some of the freehanding has worked better than others. This one, if it will focus, I'd say that looks okay. I've done skeletal hands, scythes and skulls on varying red or black backgrounds. I've tried to vary that as much as I could across models of the same range. It's worked well for some. I mean, this guy, he looks pretty good. But then there are others like Bonesy from Trapdoor. If in the UK and about my age, you might get that. Not so good. But yeah, all in all, pretty pleased with how they came out. Not quite as vibrant as maybe I would have liked. Musician looks pretty good. These models were tight. I didn't need to do any mold line cleanup at all. They just worked. Really nice the way that they hit the mold line down the ridges of the sculpt. This one I did as soon as I finished making the last video. I snapped this sword. I was waggling it back and forth to try and straighten it, and it snapped across the pommel. So I had to pin that in. But he looks good. I freehanded the shield. He was like the second one I did. It's alright. It's effective enough. Banner again, freehand. There's a tutorial online, if it will focus. There we are. As a tutorial, I think it's called like carrying the banner, making miniature flags or something. If you search that in YouTube, you'll see the guide as to how to make realistic looking flags. It's using Japanese calligraphy paper, which you can buy online. But yeah, they look pretty solid, I think. So I'm happy with those. So yeah, that's what I've painted. I did also paint a Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard small army. That's why there's been a bit of a delay, so I got a bit sidetracked on the fantasy front. I'll maybe do a video about those at some point, but yeah, that's why there's been the delay. But in terms of next projects and what I'll be looking at today, I'm going to be looking at, I don't know if I can even fit this all on screen, but it's the Warhammer Fortress, or Festung if you're German. It was an amazing kit when it came out. I remember me and my friends when we opened White Dwarf and we just saw this thing, and there's pictures like this, loads of different scenarios showing different siege sort of situations, and I have a memory of it being like £100, but I've seen some resales on eBay where they've still got the sticker on it, says £50, but it was well out of our league in terms of pocket money. I remember me and my mates thinking, oh, maybe we could like split it, if we sort of combine our money and we could split it, but who wants a tower and a wall or whatever? It's no good unless you got the whole thing. How do you figure out who keeps it? so it stayed on the page for us. We never bought it, but now, well, I picked this up, I don't know, a number of months ago for comparatively good money compared to what it goes for now. I've seen one on eBay recently for £150, and that's more than I'd want to spend on something like this. So yeah, I managed to pick that up. It's a really, really amazing when you actually look at what it is. Piece of kit. It's I remember playing some of my friends who'd painted up, I think it was Castle Grayskull, like the He-Man playset, to try and look like a piece of fantasy scenery, and it wasn't right. I played a game where someone had made like a Lego ships and castles and things just to try and fill in that terrain gap, and this just meant that you could own a castle, like a huge castle. I've had to do this in pieces because it's too big to fit on the table. I can't get it in shot. And to say that you could own that to be part of your battles was, what, in late 90s, I think this came out, was a real big deal. So it comes in 4 different pieces. You can have a tower, 3 different pieces: tower, wall, or gatehouse. They're all generic, and it's not an easy thing to put together. Let's let that focus. I bought this and it was assembled, and it had big gaps along the assembly lines, so I soaked it in hot water time and time again, got the super glue off it, broke it all down into its component parts, and I put it all together. I clamped it so that each component was held tight together during the curing process for the glue, and still I ended up with quite sizable gaps down any glue line. It's not an easy thing to put together at all. So there's a lot of green stuff on this, which I've tried to sort of hide by cutting in where any pieces of stone would meet, but then again along every up and down groove of the battlements. They needed filling because they were just noticeable, and if you painted that, I mean, you're still going to notice it, but if you painted that, you would end up with big black lines. But they're full of lovely detail, like the doors are just at the right level for the walls. You got the little trap door. You can imagine there's a ladder or a spiral staircase under there. They're really, really nicely put together. And saying that I didn't like it playing with, improvised terrain when I was a kid, this just gave you everything that you needed to make it look, I say believable, but it's one of fantasy, it's made up, but it had that sufficiently gritty Warhammer fantasy, Empire or Bretonnian type vibe to it, that you could stone it and it would work. I mean, look at the portcullis, the gate on that is amazing. It was missing one point, and that was the bolt there, the bar and the locking mechanism that holds it against the door. But I just improvised something with cocktail sticks, and I hammered out a paper clip to sort of a flat finish, and then just glued it on, curled it and snipped it as the way it needed to be. And I put these 2 doors on because I like the idea of a bit of extra detail on the inside, like you could imagine the guard station on each side of the gatehouse there. So I don't think it spoils it. I think it adds to it. So yeah, and the only other piece that you haven't seen yet, the walls. See if we can focus. So they've got these abutments, I don't know what you call those. There is a buttress, that's the word. Just nicely proportioned good looking, if it's going to focus, there we go, good looking piece of kit. And you can get similar non-fantasy, non-branded stuff online, but the price rate, I think it's about, was it £40 for something just like this alone? I mean, yeah, this is cheap, hollow, moulded plastic, and there is a tendency for this stuff to bow with age. I might fill it with something, I don't know, expanding foam or something. But it's really good looking. Still not quite focusing. There we go. Good looking bit of terrain. So I'm going to paint this up. I've spoken to some guys through Twitter, guys in the community, and they've recommended using like tester pots for acrylic wall paint. I have tried some budget artist acrylic, and the pigment count has just been too low. It just wouldn't work. So I'm hoping if I can get some tester pots, greys, make some washes from inks, and a bit of dry brushing, these should come up quite nicely. So that is gonna be, that's gonna be my first real attempt at terrain painting. I struggle to paint big things like vehicles. I take a long time. So I don't know how I'll get on with terrain, but I think if I pace it the right way, I'll be okay. The next thing I do want to kind of switch out for a bit of miniature painting is I have picked up these. So these will be the next additions to the Undead armoured skeletons. This is open, so I'll try and do an unboxing video of this. It has been, one of the guys has been partially assembled, but everything else is complete, and there's enough in there to make the full kit. So that'll probably be the next video that I do in terms of miniatures. And then I have got the 2 sets of skeleton cavalry and the 4 sets of skeleton warriors. These guys, I don't like, I don't know if they're actually pictured, the axe combination. It just looks wrong somehow to me. Scimitar fine, scythe fine, spear preferable, even the sword looks okay. So I'm going to try and swap out the axes as much as possible with maybe some sets I can buy online. But I'll do some unboxing videos down the line of these guys, and they will paint up hopefully pretty quick. Compared to the armoured skeleton warriors, there's a lot less chainmail. It's mainly bone, shield and weapon, so hopefully these will come together a bit quicker. So until then, thanks again for joining me, and goodbye.